Hey everyone, welcome to the Billions Season 4 After Show, where tonight we are talking about AxeCap getting hacked, Chuck telling his truth, and we have a Russian goodbye. Also, be sure to stay tuned because we have some fun news for ya.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Let the buzz begin. Yeah, we are. It is ladies' night tonight.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Billions Season 4 After Show, where tonight we're reviewing Episode 4, Overton Window. Man, Episode 4 already. I am Nadine, Della, and with me is the lovely ReGina.
Hi. How's everyone tonight?
Yeah.
I hope excited about this episode.
Yeah, this episode was great, and I know you guys are noticing we are missing one person. We're missing our core, our rock, Mr. Kevin Undergaro, but that is because he is actually in New York City. I don't know if any of you caught it. We will talk a lot about it during our news segment, but there was a Billions Showtime affiliated with Xfinity pre-show to the show tonight. They had a whole event. He was able to talk to some of the actors and the creators of the show. So that's where he is. We sent him out on location for a Billions assignment. So it'll be exciting next week to see everything he has to say about that.
I bet.
Let's get right into it because there was a lot that happened. And I see Spike Siegel in the comment. Yes, guys, I have the chat up. This time, finally got the chat working. Spike Spiegel, you said the episode ending, you felt like it was a season finale. Did you feel it too? Yes, I did. Seriously, that was one of the things I was going to bring up. But first of all, ReGina, let's get overall thoughts of the episode.
Overall thoughts was, I have to admit, I love Axe and Chuck together. Mm-hmm. They are a formidable force. Those two are like Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, yeah. Just missing two heads.
I know. And then I love the old school, new school. We have to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we'll dive deep into that. That was
God, versus technology and what's going on today and back. I don't want to date myself, but, you know.
Yeah, I think we can have a fun combo, you and I, about that.
I know how to get on the phone and sell some stuff.
Some stuff. That was funny, right? That was hilarious because you really got to see it. And so, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because new school, old school, that was one major theme of this episode, but also was living your truth. And we saw that a lot in Chuck's part of the episode. And it got pretty deep. If, you know, on one side it was, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? He's embarrassing himself. But on the other side, it was, yeah, but he's also living his truth and he's not living in the shadows anymore. So, yeah, we will dive into all of those themes. Please, guys, let me know what your favorite part of this episode was. It did feel like a finale episode. There's so much to get to. But let's start first with Bobby and Rebecca, the love connection that is happening between the two of them.
Yeah.
Can I just say that I want to go on a date like that? I want to go drive a really fancy, nice $125,000 car on my date and then actually own it by the end of it.
He buys it for you.
Has a guy ever bought you a car on a date?
But, well, yeah.
Oh, they bought you a car? Oh, you said you worked in a car.
My husband works. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Her husband works with cars, and they owned a car dealership for 20 years. So I asked the right person maybe that question, but maybe the average woman has not had that happen. But look at you. You're just like Rebecca, ReGina.
Well, we're in LA, so I'm sure
maybe it'll happen.
Right?
But so Bobby and Rebecca, I'm loving their relationship. I'm loving what's happening. I think she's going to be more of a key player like we're seeing her now. But I wonder if what happens when Laura comes back into the picture. If there's something that happens with that or if he stays with her, I'd love to see where the love is actually going. But the fact that she was able to help close a deal for him with the noon to night business that was going on. Bobby was obviously dealing with the hack happening at AxeCap. So he was a little, and we'll get into that, but he was a little preoccupied, you would say. And so Rebecca kind of takes lead on this, and we see an amazing cameo in the noon to night deal from Chris Sacca. So do you watch Shark Tank at all?
Yes, I know who he is.
Yep. And for any of you guys who watch Shark Tank, he was a major player on there. And one of my favorite lines from the episode was when she came in and she said that Bobby she's coming in to kind of fill in for Bobby.
For the board meeting.
Yeah, for the board meeting. He goes, well, I didn't send Mark Cuban. which is a reference to
Shark Tank.
To Shark Tank, because they were on it together. So
Right.
I always love when when the writers bring in real world stuff into it. But at the end of that whole ordeal, she put her boxing gloves on. She went there and she ended up getting 3 board seats, and one of which she is going to be taking, which is smart and good for you, lady. And it was great because he's known on the street. Bobby's known on the street as, they called him the Al Capone. No one trusts him. No one wants, to really to believe his word. Not that they don't want to do business with him, but people are a little skeptical now. So when she stuck her neck out on the line and said, hey, you either step down or I'm going to get all these people who love me because I've done good in the world and good for these consumers, maybe not good in the world, but good for these consumers, they'll be on my side and you'll be out. So that's how she was able to do it. So what did you think about that?
Well, I thought she showed that she's a clever girl and that she can, she's shown that from day one, okay? But
Very
I
smart
think
woman, yeah.
when she went in there and set him straight and told him, hey, when he was talking about the board members being clowns, by the way, I'm representing one of your board members and he's not a clown, Bobby Axelrod. He owns 11% of your company. And she, made him eat crow pretty much.
Yeah, she did it up right. She laced those boxing gloves.
Yeah.
And and do you think they're gonna get even closer and maybe like merge? I mean, on a business sense.
Of
And do you
course.
think that's gonna make it more sticky if they get more intertwined in business, or do you think it's because that's how they met? They met doing business, and maybe it'll be still good sailing. I don't know. I like them together. I really like what's happening overall. I don't know about anyone else. You guys can let me know in the chat, but I really do like what's going on with them.
I think they're Wall Street soulmates.
Wall Street soulmates, yeah, right?
So I think it's really going to get stronger because he was really impressed
Oh, yeah.
with her pulling that off and getting 3 board seats. But the sticking part is that she made sure she's going to be on the board. So right now she's his ally. But, you know, it can always turn other way. But right now, I think he's really going to, have the hots for her even more.
Yeah, he's into her.
Strong woman, knows the business like he knows, not afraid to get her hands dirty.
I love when Kevin's gone that you and I now make this like a love connection thing. We're just talking all about, okay,
It's a girl thing,
Yeah, let's
you
talk
know.
about love and relationships, all
We
right?
miss you, Kevin, though.
Okay, yeah, so that was great. So she did her part. She was able to do well for the company, and she was there and doing that part because Axe was busy with the hack. So we see the open to this entire episode of what I like to call Axe's Goonies / his henchmen. They were out doing his kind of dirty work to help Chuck out. And which I thought was great because we haven't seen those characters in a while. Because I think, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I think aren't they related to Lara, or they were friends with Bobby and Lara when they were younger? It's something like that. But
Yeah,
I think
there's
there's
a
a reason
connection.
why they were introduced for only one scene. We may see more of them later on. I don't know. Got me thinking. But the hack that happened was. So natural gas, there was going to be a leak and an explosion that was going to happen, and it was basically the stock for natural gas was going to go super down. And this whole part in this whole scene, I loved it because you got to see Bobby and Wags on the floor with the guys taking the reins, doing basically, I imagine like the start of the company, start of XCap, and I imagine that's what it was like, just like kind of the two of them, just kind of being fierce animals and leaders and taking the reins and doing it, and that's what they did. And so I wanted to bring up, like we've been talking about, the theme of new school, old school. What is it? What is it about my generation and not wanting to pick up the phone?
You said
Do
it.
you think it's actually like why Ben Kim didn't want to hop on the phone to actually call the people? Do you think it was because of his personality, or do you think it was because he was just a millennial and used to texting all the time?
It's that millennial thing. You guys are just so married to the digital world.
We are.
And, you're married to your computers, your cell phone, and everything. And that's the way you guys have really kind of been raised through this whole digital
era, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of millennials don't know how to tell time on an analog clock.
Wait, what? Really?
Oh, I was shocked.
Oh, I didn't know this. Oh, we're getting
Yes.
deep into the young millennials. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
They
well,
don't
but
know-
it's
yeah.
how are you, it's the same thing with, I feel like people aren't teaching cursive anymore. So if you're not teaching it, you're not being taught it, then how are you supposed to know? And the older generation just thinks you should know. It's, it's a whole back and forth, but if you're not really taught it too, it's not your fault, I guess.
But it's I understand that being an ex-school teacher, I taught cursive writing, and
Yeah.
you don't have a need for it now. You have computers to do everything.
Yeah.
But a good example is what happened with the hack. Everything was shut down. And if Bobby and Wag didn't go old school.
And Dollar Bill.
Dollar Bill.
Dollar Bill got that $72 million he said he saved the company.
Yeah. If they didn't know how to go old school and keep the ship afloat, they would have lost that $512 million that they were standing to lose. Had they not jumped in front of everything.
Yeah, but that was the thing. It was like, is it because of their personality that they got on the phone, or is it because they had the contacts? Because I feel like there's some people. Yeah, I get Ben Kim and I forget the guy's name, but his friend / sidekick there. I get that they probably have the personality not to be able to call and make deals like that. I get it. That's fine. They're more analytical. They're more, let me do this on the computer. But I feel like there's a couple of other people that work there that could have been able to get on the phone, but maybe they just didn't have those contacts because they never were working in the world when you needed to have those contacts because everything was online. So I wonder if that was also a thing. But then let's bring up that Spiros, he comes with his board and he tries to do old school math and show off and be like, hey, okay, like we're going, millennials versus the older school. So he's on the older side. But then he does the math wrong and the millennial has to correct him. Right? What did you think of that?
I think he said arithmetic, didn't he?
Yeah,
I'm
arithmetic.
Like, okay, well, we know what era that was. Still arithmetic, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
in that way, I applaud millennials.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's good at math. So if anybody can walk in a room and say it's wrong and look at it, I love them.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that was the tie-in at the end, that it didn't matter what the medium was. It didn't matter if you're handwriting or doing on the computer. Stuff is either right or wrong, and you're either smart or you're not smart. And Ari, clearly, he wasn't, he's not really the brightest guy. I mean, he tries his hardest, but, it is what it is. But at the end, it was great. And I love the quote. They said they got out about 90% of toxic trash. Yeah. So they were facing $512 million exposure, but they ended up only taking a $48 million hit. And I love when we say that only a $48 million hit. That's how much money we're talking. That's why the show is called Billions. That is why every $1 million is just like $1 to them. It's kind of crazy. But I loved that part, and I love when they're doing old school, new school. It was a great little segment. But quickly, before we move on to the next topic, I just wanted to say thank you guys very much for making us the ESPN of TV talk. We love having you guys here. We love having you guys as our audience. I've been doing this for a couple years now, and you guys are so much fun. I just wanted to remind you that if you haven't subscribed yet, you totally can. And we'd love you to. You just click that little button somewhere. I don't know. It's down here somewhere. And then if you go on iTunes, you can leave us a 5-star rating if you really like the show. And please be sure to comment. I know you guys have been the past couple of weeks, and I have been trying my best to respond to all of you when I see it, just to keep the conversation going. So thank you so much again for supporting us in what we love to do. And you guys are the best. And talk in the chat if you wanna interject in what's happening right now. Okay, so let's jump on over to Chuck's election hiccup. Dun, dun, dun! The biggest thing that's happened this episode. So we see Bobby come over and make good on his deal. He immediately comes to Chuck's office and is like, hey, I did this, this, and this. The school buses, hey, parents are going to have to take their kids to school. They're not going to go vote. These other buses, they're taking everyone to the wrong place. And so he did all this stuff so that Chuck would have a better chance at the polls. And you just see Chuck just not even caring, not even interested in what's going on. He's like, yeah, cool. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't matter because Foleys got me. Like, I have never seen Chuck look this checkmated, like ever. Like, he just seemed, because the biggest secret of his life, the rubber band snapping on the leg secret, could be exposed. But what Bobby says to him, Bobby gives him like a pump-up speech, basically. And Bobby gives us, like, admits to Chuck that when they were fighting and they were arguing with each other, his heart would race when Chuck would come after him because he'd be that scared. So what'd you think about that? Did you like Bobby giving us kind of an insight? Because I loved it because it made me see how close they actually are now, how they're buddies, how they can admit when they're fighting that, like, Bobby respects Chuck enough to actually be scared of what his next move's going to be.
Well, they definitely are comfortable with one another.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's new.
Yeah. So when he said that to him, I was kind of surprised by it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chuck, of course, his response was, well, it makes me kind of feel, pump me up a little bit. But he was really down about the whole situation of having to get out of the race.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be or wanted to be Attorney General at no cost.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Like, is it his disappointment? Do you think it's for himself, or do you think it's for other people too, aka his father? And I want to dive deep into this, his father's influence, Chuck's father's influence, because we see Chuck was kind of content with, okay, yeah, he was sad about it. He was like, yeah, but you know what? The only thing I have to do is just stand down. I'm going to back out of the race. It's cool. It's fine. Not until he talks to this father at the lot where his father is building this new stadium, Elson Fields. And obviously his father wants him to be AG so that he is able to get expedited funding. So it's everything to benefit his father. And his father gives him the idea and, like always, seeds these, these ideas in his head of urges and what to do. And this is how you can get out of it. But I wonder, is it because Chuck wants to do it, or is it because his father's influenced him so hard that that's what has caused him to, as we'll see in the speech, or we'll talk about in the speech, to lay all his dirty secrets out on the line?
Sometimes I get the feeling that Chuck just feels like he is not living up to his father's standards. So he always wants to please his dad, regardless. I mean, his dad can say some really mean things to him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Chuck comes right back, crawling right back to get his dad's approval. So all he needs is that little push from Daddy.
Yeah.
And, of course, Wendy knows better than anyone, but he just needs that little shove from Daddy, like the kid that's learning on training wheels to ride that bike.
Yeah, just a little push.
And just,
but is it a good push? That's what I'm saying. It's just like, I feel like Chuck Rhoades Sr., he is not taking into account his son's public humiliation of what's at stake here. That his son's marriage could be at stake here, that his grandchildren could be embarrassed for their parents' love life being out in public. That if he doesn't care about any of that, like, does he not care? But maybe does he? My question is, does he not care about that? Does he care more about the perks he'll get if Chuck is AG? And is that messed up? Kind of, in my opinion. What's your opinion?
I think it is messed up, but he is an old political power broker, which is what Chuck told Wendy. And so he has gotten used to having that lifestyle, that lavish lifestyle that being well connected in the political arena brings. And so he knows from Chuck just being district attorney of Southern District.
Yeah, what it can
how
do.
many favors he did for his dad when he had that job.
Yeah.
So now the whole state. So, I mean, his dad is looking at the sky's the limit. And I don't think his dad ever really cared that much about Wendy in the first place, because remember, he's the one that exposed them
to Foley. And now it's coming full circle.
Yeah, it's coming full circle. So now all of a sudden, he doesn't seem to be shocked by it. It's, so much collateral damage was done in this particular episode. And it was like winning at every cost. As long as we win. As
long as we win. And that's a seed, like you're saying, that was planted in his head from his father. And so Chuck is just immediately after seeing his father, he goes and he chats with Wendy. Also, love that in New York, like, you can't do this in LA. You can't just like, let's go walk and meet in the park and then we'll walk our separate ways back to where we are, because it's so condensed. You can just go meet up like that. Miss New York, love it, from New York. But he goes and talks with Wendy and he basically says, it's impossible. I have to back out because Foley has cancer and Foley is just not going to back down because it's his last. Also, that's sad. I know I'm jumping everywhere, guys, but like, this guy is dying and on his deathbed, and his one thing that he wants to do before he dies is seek revenge on Chuck and make sure that Chuck's life is miserable and that he's outed. Isn't that like, what a sad life? That made me just feel really sad for Foley and everything that he's gone through. That's what you're thinking about, and that's what you're doing on your last couple weeks of life?
I didn't take it.
You didn't take it like that? What did you think?
100%.
What did you think?
I felt like he was looking more at the office of the position for the people, and knowing
he was doing it for the good.
How corrupt Chuck is, and he knows Chuck. He knows his background, and so I think I took it as he felt like he wanted to do some good before he died, and he felt like the good would be to keep this guy from getting in office as the attorney general.
Yeah, that is one way to look at it. I don't know. I just feel like, does any of that matter when you're dying? I guess you can't actually know, and I hope that no one watching or any of us can talk about this soon, because none of us will be in that position, I hope. But when you're that close to death, is that what you're thinking about? You know what I mean? Is that what's going on in your brain? I don't know. I can't speak to it. But when Chuck is talking to Wendy and saying that, this is like, what are your thoughts? She brings up the title of our show, which is Overton Window. Yes. She says, there's no way we can come out with this. We will be the laughing stock, and that we're too far past the Overton window, that which is an acceptable part of public discourse. And you have, I think, a little bit of the backstory on what that means.
And that's why we absolutely, of course, one of the reasons, love Billions, because they keep us up on
everything.
Today, what's current, what was back in the day. So I looked up Overton Window, and so it came from a guy named Joe Overton, who invented it while working at a think tank in Michigan, where I'm from.
Okay.
And he theorized that politicians can only voice opinions within a band inside the left to right of the political spectrum. Any politician who voices an opinion outside the range of acceptable opinions will see their career come to an abrupt end and be ostracized.
Yeah. So she's saying that we're far outside that window, that if this leaks, if this gets out, she says that she can't and she won't live with the humiliation. Like, she is firm about her opinion and her belief on this. She's like, no, this isn't happening. Like, and she was very sweet at the end. She said that they will find the next adventure together, and like, she gave him a hug, and she said, hey, this is it's over. We both know this is done now. There's no way this can ever come out. She's very firm. This is about both of them. Did you think in this moment that Chuck was actually going to listen to her? Like, I'm trying to go back and think of where my brain was at, and I think that I genuinely thought that he was, and then I was like, but where would that have led us? It was so convincing to me that I thought that he cared enough about the marriage and about her wishes too, that would have trumped his own desires and his own feelings, but it didn't. What did you think? Did you think he was going to listen to her?
No, of course not. He wants it too bad.
Yeah.
Winning at every cost. I mean, let's look at just the beginning of the season alone, the things that he went through to get to this point. But the shocker to me was Wendy quickly shutting him down. Like, okay, well, it's over. You know, do it.
That surprised you?
Yeah, that she was so quick about it.
Would you want, like, if that was about your, like, that's a massive thing. That's a big humiliation to be in the public spot, like, for everyone. He's the attorney. He's running for Attorney General of New York. Like, everyone and your children will see that and everything. I totally get how she would be quick to say, no job in office is worth it. Also, she's making bank working at Axe. It's not like they need the money. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with what, Chuck wants to do. And she supported him throughout. She said, hey, I'm going to stand by you. Last season, she made a point of saying that. If you want to become Attorney General, I will help you get there. But there are limits, and I understand her limits. But let's get to the big part. Let's get to the speech. So Chuck goes to the podium, and I quoted this because he pulls a speech out of his coat pocket, and then he goes, nope, not going to read that one, and plops it back. And my heart was just like, uh-oh, what's about to happen? What's about to happen?
Time for some water.
Seriously. And then Ira just like, you could just see the shock in his face, like, oh no, because Ira wrote the speech for him. And it was just, the whole speech itself was interesting. And I'm going to pull out a couple of lines that he said in the speech, because it really shows how he was trying to connect on a human level with the people that were watching and with the voters, and making him not be this guy who's been a politician for years and in office, but just, you know, a guy you can laugh at, but a guy that you can understand. And he quoted Winston Churchill. He said, to start the speech, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. So he quotes Winston Churchill, and he asked the public basically if he can trust them. Normally it's the other way around, like, do you trust me? But he's asking, can I trust you with my deepest fear? And he admits it. He just admits that he likes bondage, he likes dominance, that he gave every intimate detail. Like, I think he went a little too far. He didn't have to go as far as he did, in my opinion. I'm sure other people may not agree, but he was telling his truth. He was admitting the one thing that all of his opponents could have came and taken him down for, the thing that he's been hiding, the thing that has been that rubber band under the pants, not over the pants, right? Because it was something to be shameful about, and saying, hey, if this is what's going to cause you guys to make me not elected, then come on, make me not elected for it. But I know you guys better, basically. I know that you guys also have secrets. I know that what you do in the bedroom, you don't want to be let out. Yeah.
He played on their emotions.
That's exactly what he did.
He made a human, like, you know, he who throws the first stone or whatever, the glass house thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing something, I'm sure, behind closed doors that you're not happy with. But then he came back with the fact that he's being truthful. And, of course, you want a politician that's being truthful. So
exactly.
He laid it all out there. So what else could they
He was
do?
smart. No, it was, what he did was kind of brilliant. And for him to also just do it on like with no speech and just talking, and you could just see in his face, like, wow, I'm still rambling right now and still talking. How is this happening? You could just see in his eyes. Great acting, by the way. But it worked, and the exit polls were amazing, but at what cost, right? But and because everything is psychology, right? But I just want to talk quickly about the reactions of the characters to the speech. So while he's giving this speech, while he's kind of letting it all out, like every little secret that he's ever held, he's just sharing it for the world to see. We see a bunch of the almost every main character in the I think every main character in the show is watching this speech. Everyone has it on. And so I just wanted to talk about a little bit of their reactions, because it's very telling to who each of these people are. So Papa Rhoades, he is sitting there with a glass of whiskey, and he's smiling. He's seeing his son say the most humiliating thing about his life, and he's smiling, and you would say proud, I would say.
Yeah, proud.
Bobby is watching it, and he has a little smirk on his face, and you can tell that he's just like, thinks it's funny kind of, but also like, oh shit. Like, I think that's what he says, like, oh shit, but it's kind of funny. And that's also Bobby's personality. And we see that later when Bobby meets with Chuck, that he makes one little joke about it, and he goes, no, that's it. I'm sorry, I'm done. But I think it's just more of that like bro thing. Not that he's actually like, wow, like ashamed or he's just like, that's just funny. And now I'm going to like kind of joke with you about it because we're friends. But Wags was interesting to me, because Wags looked at Wendy a little concerned. He just kind of looked at her just like, oh man, this is everywhere, which I thought Bobby would have more of that reaction over Wags.
I did too.
Right?
I thought Bobby would have at least went over and walked her to the elevator. He kind of made eye contact, but not directly.
Yeah.
But no one got up to walk over to Wendy to give her any type of support. And they didn't have to talk about in specifics about her sex life, but just go over to her as coworkers, friends, and just have a comforting response.
Well, I think it's just everyone was in shock. It's just like, what do you do then? And I think she, like, her reaction was she looked concerned. Seeing her watch that whole speech it was concern, then it was disbelief, and then I could literally see her heart pounding. I could see her breathing go heavy, and then she just like shrunk back like the Homer Simpson meme. I don't know if you see that. He goes back into the bushes. That's what she did into the elevator, and it shut, and I felt so bad for her. So Ira was in shock. Taylor had zero emotion. Foley looked annoyed, basically, that he did all this work for nothing. That's like, oh, okay, well, now it's out there. But we only have a little bit left, so I'm just quickly going to go through some of these bullet points. But after Wendy leaves, it's basically what I like to call Wendy's rage. Chuck is celebrating the victory, basically, that it went so well that, you know, people the exit polls have come out great. People love him. And Wendy comes in and makes everyone leave and is super upset. Now, do you think she has the right to be upset? Because he's throwing more Churchill quotes at her and saying that he freed them from the secrecy and all this stuff. But I think that she has every right to be mad because they, as a couple, had a conversation. They decided on something.
He betrayed her.
And exactly, betrayed her. And it's like, at the cost of what? And we can talk in predictions about this, but I'd love to see where everyone thinks their marriage is going to go from here and if it's something that they can recover from. And because of that, because of how upset she is, the one person who could kind of understand is Taylor. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed the fact that Taylor put aside everything that's happened and decided to FaceTime, which I thought was interesting, but I also like that in the show when they FaceTime instead of call because you get to see the actor's face, but decided to FaceTime Wendy to say basically that, like, hey, I know what it's like to face public scrutiny, and if you need a friend, I'm here for you. And even though Wendy hung up the phone because I'm sure Wendy just wanted to be alone, I thought that was big of Taylor to go and do that. And I loved that. What did you think of that?
Do you really think Taylor was being
genuine? See, I do think Taylor was being genuine on it because just from what we know of Taylor, I think that is something, her gender identity or their gender identity is so big. And see, I'm trying to keep up with it, but is so big in their heart that they understand what it's like for everyone to not understand and to not get it and to have a secret and all of that. And so I feel like to use that in a negative way against Wendy would just be the lowest of low. And I can't imagine Taylor like that.
She would just be the last person that I would want to talk to about that.
Well, that's why Wendy hung up the phone.
I know. Good for Wendy. Yeah. I love that.
And then on Taylor's side, we see Taylor's dad pitched an idea for them to go into business together. In the beginning, Taylor was just like, oh, really? That's why you're here? I thought we were here to build a bond again and to strengthen our relationship. But by the end of it, Taylor was excited and read the proposal and was like, yeah, we can make this work. So that's going to be interesting. I wonder where that is going to lead us to. But I think this episode was set up for what's to come with Taylor. I think because we didn't see a lot of Taylor. This was a big Chuck episode, a big revelation for Chuck, that this will set up what's going to happen with Taylor. But what happens is that Taylor knows that the hack that happened with Bobby was probably a Grigor thing, that this was Grigor helping them. And so they pounced a little and they positioned themselves better so that they weren't able to lose anything. They may have hurt ex-Cap in the process. And the reason I say I think this is all a setup for Taylor is because Taylor thinks that Grigor was helping her here. But now, 30 days later, let's chat about this quick of where Grigor stands and how this is going to affect Taylor. We see that Chuck is officially sworn in as Attorney General, and Wendy is not by his side. His father is by his side, which right there shows you the importance of who he listens to, right? Yeah. Right? What did you think about that?
I mean, Wendy told him, this marriage is getting crowded.
Yeah.
You know, your dad. And I really think that, and I've said this from the beginning of season 4, that Wendy was going through something emotionally.
Yeah.
And I know that she was definitely dissatisfied with their sex life. Mm-hmm. And
I think the connection, not just the sex life, right? The whole thing.
Yeah. She was, I felt she just wasn't being fulfilled that way emotionally, physically with Chuck. And I think now we see with everything that's happened, the betrayal, how do you that's the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, in it's public betrayal too, because
it is humiliating.
It's about her sex life as well.
Yeah.
And I get that it's him living his truth and saying, this is who I am, this is what I like, I don't care. But she wasn't ready to say that. She wasn't ready to do that. And in a marriage, in my opinion, he should have respected those wishes. Even though he was ready, she wasn't. And he took his feelings and his desires to be AG over her. But now that he is AG, now Bobby's there, and that's when Bobby makes his little joke at him to take his the return favor. And this favor, which I was wondering if this was going to be tied into Grigor, if the favor was, because we haven't seen too much of Grigor being too much of a big play this season, just a little bit where we kind of saw him, that they were pulling him away a little, and this is why. It's his exit for now. I wonder if he's going to be gone forever. But Chuck freezes his assets and forces him to leave the United States, which is massive. Like, Grigor has to be gone. Grigor has no money. The biggest, basically, axe in Axe Capital is out of here.
Right. And
did you see that coming?
Foreign agent, right?
Yeah, that's what they would call him.
Yeah. So boom.
Yeah, so
you get
boom.
the boot in 12 hours.
Exactly. So Grigor is gone, and the twist and the biggest part of this was that the meeting between Grigor and Bobby, as Bobby is basically waving him off, says that, hey, I'll unfreeze, or basically I'll have Chuck unfreeze the $2 billion investment in Taylor's company you have, so that you can have that money back, and it'll be your money. Also known as Taylor is kind of screwed. Like, that money is going to go away because Grigor has no more money. All of his other assets are frozen. So what is going to happen to Taylor's company? That's all I thought about during that time. And I was like, oh man, what's happening next episode with this, right? And I think it was great. And like I said in the beginning, like Spike Spiegel said, and Laurie Stone Haskell, thank you guys for being in the chat. You guys said that it felt like it was a season finale. And it did, because of the last goodbye that Bobby and Grigor had with each other. And they basically said to each other, hey, Grigor, you go do whatever you want in Russia and any of the countries that Mother Russia owns. And Bobby's going to do whatever he wants in America. And they won't bother each other. They won't touch each other.
Set foot in my part of town.
The game is over. And man, it was heavy. It was just our goodbye to Grigor.
For now, I guess,
for now,
finale.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But
it felt like a finale.
It did feel like a finale.
It was a farewell.
Yeah, because with so many characters being like pushed to the side in a way, like Wendy being pushed to the side with Chuck betraying her like that, and her not being by his side.
Yeah.
And then Grigor, Bobby, pretty much putting him on a plane back to Russia. So
great. But what I like though is that it felt like a finale. It was so good that it felt like a finale, but yet we have more episodes to come, so we're able to see what happens.
It's gonna be great.
And we're 30 days ahead now, so Chuck is actually in office. We're not in that waiting period anymore. It was great. What an episode. Wow, we flew through that, guys, because we have a bunch of other stuff to get to. Let us know in the chat right now if there's anything else we missed you want to chat about in the next 5 minutes we have left. And if not, we are going to go right now into some news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So yeah, news this week was a little slower, but the biggest of news is what I teased in the beginning of the show was that Kevin Undergaro, our other host here, who you guys love, who we miss, Kevin, come back. He was out in New York at a Showtime event. It was sponsored by Xfinity, and they were able to, him and Roxy Stryer, who's another host here at AfterBuzz, they were able to interview the actors that play Dollar Bill, that play Connerty, the show creators and writers. And there was a lot of fun stuff that happened. It was a live stream that actually happened before the show aired tonight. So I'm trying to find out, and I'll leave it in the comments if I can find out where the actual full clip is, if they're posting it anywhere, if they're posting it on the Showtime app or if it's on their Twitter. I don't know yet. All I know is that the live stream went away, but it was really cool, and they also got to play some fun games with them as well,
great.
with Dollar Bill and Connerty. They played a game of, hey, test these two chocolates. Is this like Billions chocolate? Like, would this be what the rich people would eat? Or more so like on Connerty's side with what he's being paid, in government, what in different foods. It was really hilarious. And the actors, they're just as fun in real life as they are on the show. So that's cool. So I'll let you guys know where that is and when that's going to be up, which I hope it is going to be. So that's news for this week. And then we have a fun little special segment to get to this week because we do not have our millennial translator because Kevin is gone. So ReGina, would you like to introduce your new segment?
So our new segment is going to be called Who Said It to Who?
Who said it to who, everyone?
And basically what we want you guys to do is tell us who said this quote to who in the show.
Okay, so you pulled out a couple quotes.
Pulled out a couple of quotes. So I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
So it's 3 things in life you can't postpone without dire consequences. So what are the dire consequences? 3 answers, guys. And who said it to who?
So what are the dire consequences and who said it?
Yes.
Are there any hints of what episode this was from or what season or no?
Let's say we will go back to maybe 3.
So season 3?
Maybe so.
Okay. So this is a quote from season 3. Let's see. Whoever can figure out where that quote came from and what the 3 desires are, write it in the comments. We'll look at it this week, and next week we will chat about it and see who won the prize.
So do we need to say it one more time?
Yes.
3 things in life you can't postpone without dire consequences, guys. What character said it to what character? In Billions, and we'll go back and say maybe season 3. 3 answers. We're going to be checking to see what your answers are, and we'll give you a shout out next week if you come up with the right ones.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, we will.
And give us that thumb up too.
That's hard. I'm trying to think right now. I can't think. I'm gonna have to go research. Do I win anything? If I get no, okay, I can't.
Yeah, we're gonna win more thumbs up.
Okay, there we go. All right, now let's get into some predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, man, lots is going on, lots happening. Give me some quick predictions, ReGina.
Quick prediction. Well, I predicted last week that I thought Taylor's dad was going to hang around and distract her a bit. Now, maybe it'll be a good distraction. Maybe he'll be that ally she needs now that Grigor is gone.
Oh, do you think the father is going to help Taylor?
She seems to be pretty high on this proposal that he gave her. And she, so we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
Do I get one more?
Yeah, of course.
One more? Okay, well, Wendy's my girl, so Chuck, you've got your homework cut out for you.
Chuck, good luck.
Right.
What's the saying? Happy wife, happy life? Not happening.
Hell have no fury like what? A woman scorned?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it is going to be hard to get Wendy back on track with Chuck. I think that it's going to be a long process. And honestly, my prediction is I don't think their marriage is going to last or make it through this. I think this may be the final thing. I think that Wendy has stuck with him through a lot of stuff. We saw in the earlier seasons that they were having marital issues. Then they came back together. And now I think she's been trying to connect with him. He hasn't been willing to. And I think this was maybe the final thing. And I think Bobby may have a big deal in maybe trying to help save that marriage now that he's kind of friends with them. Maybe he's going to step in and help them out because he wants to keep Chuck as his friend. I don't know. Maybe there's just some one. Right? Maybe there's something happening there. I think Grigor is for sure gone for now, but I think he may come back in coming seasons. I don't know. I hope so. I think that, he's just such a great character and scary and crazy. And I think something is going to go down with Taylor's company now that the money is pulled. Thank you guys for watching. That was fun. That was a lot. Please let us know what your predictions are down in the comments. And like I said, be sure to like us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Make sure to subscribe. And where can they find you during this week?
Come on, guys. Instagram, ReGina Calls.
At ReGina Calls. And you guys can find me everywhere at Nadine Della. Thank you again for watching. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.